heard that they're a threat to our national security, and that's a flat-out lie. You want to know who the real threat is, Madam President? I'll give you a hint. They don't look like our chief author. They don't look like the folks up in the gallery. They don't look like the folks on the rotunda. They look like many of the members that sit in the front. The greatest domestic threat facing the United States comes from, quote, racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, specifically those who advocate for the superiority of the white race. Not our immigrants. We are safer and we're better off because of them.
They come here because of our generosity and they heap disdain on us. This guy is likely to become the next mayor of Minneapolis. He and Zohran Mamdani and Sadiq Khan. Do you see a pattern here of what is happening? Cut 440, Minneapolis mayor candidate Omar Fattah calls Somalia our home, even though he was born in Washington, D.C. and raised here. We already know Ilhan Omar in U.S. Congress, and I've been told, oh, that's just an isolated incident. Well, now the mayor of Minneapolis is going to be in the same mold because we brought them here. Play cut 440.
I understand that our Somali communities are all connected to each other here in Minnesota and back home, and I ask for your support. There's always been a link between our community here as well as back home, and I'm running to bridge that gap and unite all of us and represent all of us, because when we succeed here, we succeed everywhere. And I'm hoping to do that just like Abdrazak, inshallah.
But the argument is always the economic argument. They say, oh, it's because of economic growth. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, we're about to have an AI boom. We don't need to have a bunch of third worlders to have economic growth right now. Oh, the GDP goes up? Okay, what about GDP per capita? The United Kingdom is a perfect example of this. A perfect example. The UK had a similar GDP per capita, at least within a couple of points of the United States 10 or 20 years ago. Do you know that the United Kingdom is poorer than every single U.S. state per capita outside of Mississippi? When you run the numbers, third world migrants almost never work out net positive. And that's just the economic argument, let alone the cultural one. What's best for our kids? How about our quality of life? How about the crowding, the competition for housing? How about the lines at the ER? Or how about the rising anti-Christian and Jew hate we are seeing in our streets? Do you think Omar Fattah is going to help with the Jew hate that we are seeing? Of course not. But here is the kicker. It is time for us to smash and to crush this dogma that so many of us peddle. Oh, we need legal immigration. Do we? Really? You have Omar Fattah. You have Zohran Mamdani. And another one that I'm going to play in the next clip, you have Mana Abdi. You have Dak Dalaka. Does anyone think that, for example, Lewiston, Maine, where I just was to be with Tucker Carlson, is better than it was 50 years ago? No one from America is rushing to move to Lewiston, Maine. We must be unafraid to tell the truth about legal immigration. Stop it. Net zero immigration moratorium. And be unafraid of the words that they will call us. Because our greatest cities are being conquered. That's not an opinion. That is a fact. And we're not conquering them because they stormed the gates. They're conquering us because we invited them here and let them come. Legal assimilation like our beloved First Lady Melania Trump did. Exactly. Melania Trump came here and assimilated to America. Nothing wrong with that. We have nothing against that. But what we're doing is completely, we have this chain migration, family migration, asylum scam. So here's another piece of tape here. Let's play this one. This is 468. This is Representative Mana Abdi, who says that moving here from Somalia was boot camp, slams the housing provided. Do you see the ingratitude here? Look at the difference between these Somali migrants and some of the great Cubans or Venezuelans that came here. When I talk to Cubans that came here, they're like, I kissed the ground, I ate nothing for the first couple weeks, and I was fine with it. It's just there's a difference of this ingratitude immigration push that we're seeing, we've got to stop it. It is suicide by migration. Okay, play cut 468, please.
Anything. So coming into the States, everything from the snow to, you know, the housing, the homes that we were all of a sudden occupying, everything was a shock, honestly. Every day was something new, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just getting worse. Yeah,
So, what state did you guys land, first of all?
Kansas,
Kansas City.
of all places. Yeah, it was like a boot camp for Maine, basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's just like, right, like, I mean, anyone who lives in Maine knows Maine and has ever visited Kansas, they will know what I'm talking about. It's just a lot.
So much of our economy has become reliant on cheap labor and this mass migration scam. And then you get mayor after mayor. This is cut 34. This is Delacqua, or Deca Delacqua, or Deca Dalawak. She says her goal is to try to help the country of Somalia. She was the mayor of South Portland. I was just visiting Tucker Carlson on his podcast. It went very viral. I encourage you guys to check it out. We're posting it this weekend. I saw it for myself in Lewiston, Maine. I saw it for myself in Portland, Maine. Unrecognizable. A completely changed state. Play cut 434.
Policies, how can the politics in Somalia can be, resonate what we have here in the United States, the democracy that we have. How can you help us, be a better country and build back what we used to have back in long time ago? So hopefully we will be able to help our country, our former country, Somalia.
And here's the other part that needs to say, over time, this is actually hurting our ability to draw good immigrants. We get fewer and fewer requests from nice countries like Japan or South Korea or Singapore because they don't want to go live in a third world city or a third world pocket. It's just bad for everybody across the board. Everybody. And we are led to believe that, they're going to have mass assimilation over a period of time. There is no evidence to suggest that at all. And what we've seen, and it's growing rapidly, Minneapolis, it's growing in South Portland, Maine, it's growing in Lewiston, Maine, and of course in New York City. And look, Democrat rank and file white liberals, they're more than happy to vote for this stuff. There's no convincing them. They think they're being open and tolerant. Assimilation is harder and harder. 150 years ago, you couldn't call your country back in your old country. You couldn't fly back. You had to assimilate. Now you could fly back easily. You had to, quote unquote, burn the boats 150 years ago. The Somalis can now exist as basically a subgroup indefinitely, supported by a self-hating white liberal elite. So you have a self-hating white liberal elite that continually votes for this subgroup of Somali Muslims that are commanded and compelled to run for mayor's races, run for Congress. Is that the best of our country? And we are doing it by choice. It is not like we have to do this. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say, you must, Amendment 8, does it say you must bring in a certain amount of people from the third world? You don't have to have any immigration. You don't. Every immigrant should pass the question, is it good for us or is it not good for us? And right now it's fueling our own demise. And London is a canary in the coal mine. It is a harbinger of things to come. We know that. But this is not illegal immigration. That's what I want us to change our language on. I want all of you in your local Republican precinct committee groups. I want all of you to challenge your congressmen. I want all of you to challenge your senators. Stop just talking about illegal immigration. Stop it. We've won that battle. Game, set, match. Thank you, President Trump. The fight, the future, the energy is going to be on who do we legally let into America. That is the question. If we fail that question, that test, we'll have more Omar Fatahs, more Dalakwas, more Ilhan Omars, and more Zohran Mamdans. We'll be right back with Molly Hemingway. You work hard. You stopped working, but because a lot of grocery store meat doesn't come from them anymore. Over 85% of the grass-fed beef in the U.S. stores is imported, and most people have no idea. That's why I get all of my meat from GoodRanchers.com. Good Ranchers doesn't just sell meat, they guide you back to the source. All Good Ranchers products are 100% born, raised, and harvested in the USA from local family farms. And with summer in full swing, there's nothing better than good food shared with your friends and family. Whether it's burgers by the pool, steaks on the grill, or nuggets for an easy meal, make sure you're serving America's best meat this summer. Plus, if you subscribe to any Good Ranchers box today, you'll get your pick of free meat for life. That's free Wagyu burgers, hot dogs, bacon, or chicken wings in every box for the lifetime of your subscription. And if you use my exclusive code KIRK at checkout, you get extra $40 off your first box. Once again, visit GoodRanchers.com. Use my code KIRK to get your free meat for life plus $40 off. GoodRanchers.com, American meat delivered. Joining us now is Mollie Hemingway, the great Mollie Hemingway, who has some phenomenal pieces out on The Federalist. Mollie, first, I just want to give you an opportunity here, editor-in-chief at The Federalist, to just explain to our audience how you are thinking about this Obamagate scandal and the significance of it. Please, Mollie Hemingway.
Well, I joke that sometimes I feel like I have a PhD in the Russia collusion hoax. I and my colleagues at The Federalist have been covering this issue for nearly a decade now, and it's rare that you actually learn something that shocks you. But the revelations that we got in the last week were, I think, some of the most shocking of the entire conspiracy theory that we have been covering at The Federalist for so long. I mean, first off, that we learned that the Obama administration had intelligence showing that Russia's regular efforts to meddle in the election didn't really do anything in 2016. And the Obama administration conspired to kill the publication of that report, because if it had been published, it would have gone to President Trump and his incoming national security advisor, Mike Flynn. And so they conspired to suppress that. That's explosive. But then it gets worse. Then Obama says, we're going to put together a different intelligence assessment that says the opposite. And then they do that, and they put all sorts of fake stuff in there, and they leaked to their buddies at the Washington Post and the New York Times things that just aren't true. Then they briefed that intelligence assessment to Obama and Trump, and that's what gets the whole hoax going. Like, this finally explains to us how it all got going, and just as, for what the country went through with this completely fake thing, that's explosive.
It's hard to even put into words the downstream effects of how this conspiracy led to a damaged nation, let alone a stolen first term from President Trump. Mollie Hemingway.
Well, let's just add a couple more things to that, which would be the 2 assassination attempts on President Trump at the end of the 2024 campaign. I mean, if you don't have the hysteria and the claims of illegitimacy that arise from this thing that the Obama people did, that's Obama, and it looks like Brennan and Comey were the primary bad guys in this story. Do you get a populace that gets Trump derangement syndrome? Yes, it was shocking that he won in 2016, but would you have this legacy of hate, the turning of an entire political movement into just this hate-filled movement that's trying to kill their primary political opposition? I think you can draw a line from that too. And so, again, this is why it's so good to get these details out this week. What we learned, that in fact, it was just the Obama chiefs. You had all sorts of people underneath Comey and Brennan screaming from the rooftops, this isn't true. How can you say this thing that isn't true? And then we also learn how Brennan works around this. He says, oh, you don't understand. I have secret knowledge that you can't have access to. Well, you can't really be a good whistleblower if your boss tells you that there is legit intelligence, that you don't have access to. We learned this week what that intelligence is, and it's all bunk. I mean, it's so much worse than I think those of us who actually know a lot about the hoax thought it would be. We thought there would at least be something kind of legitimate to it. It's all bunk. They give 4 reasons for their claim that Russia, interfered in the election to help Trump. One of them is the Steele dossier. We already knew that was bunk, okay? But so were the other 3. They have a fragment, a snippet of a sentence that they misinterpret, and they hang the whole thing on it. Like, before the Republican nominating convention in 2016, supposedly someone heard third hand that Putin thought that Trump would win. And they say, well, that shows that he wanted him to win. No, it doesn't. And also, it's pretty clear from the context, they're talking about the nominating convention, not even the general election. The idea that we would have Brennan going out and saying, I know everything about this, and it's so explosive, it's the worst thing I've ever seen, based on that? I mean, it's shocking, right?
Molly, I'll be honest, if nobody gets indicted and nobody goes to jail here, then it goes, oh, so you can get away with it. It'll be kind of like that Harry Reid thing when he gave the speech. Oh, yeah, I lied about Mitt Romney's tax returns. Well, it worked, didn't it? Molly Hemingway.
I completely agree. If nobody goes to jail for this, perhaps the greatest crime we've seen in our country's history by the government against an incoming, and you don't really have a republic anymore. You're also correct. People need to set their expectations appropriately. I mean, we have a Supreme Court decision that was a result of the left using lawfare to go after Donald Trump that will make it very hard to go after Obama for anything he did, no matter what it was. And again, the media should not act like pretending to be journalists is a get-out-of-jail-free card for these crimes. They were active co-conspirators, active. They were willful, and they didn't just do it, they're continuing to do it. And so I think that the strike force team should also be looking at how this action against America happened because of these corrupt media figures, and that they should not be considered as being exempt from accountability because they pretend, and it is just pretend to be journalists.
I want to play this cut right here. This is James Comey peddling this stuff with Jen Psaki. Play cut 506.
So a lot of people have suggested that there are a range of factors that would make it difficult to put the system has not been tested in this way. Do you agree with that it would be difficult or nearly impossible for the law enforcement institutions to put him in actual jail?
No, they would just put him in a double wide somewhere out near the fence, out in the grass. And he would eat there, he'd shower there, he'd exercise there, he'd be away, as Danya Perry said, from general population, but it's obviously doable.
So that was James Comey on MSNBC fantasizing about Donald Trump going to jail when they in reality were the ones that were significantly breaking federal law. Final thoughts here, Molly Hemingway, about how we proceed. My biggest fear is that we're not going to see the ultimate administration of justice, and people are going to be pretty upset. Molly Hemingway.
Charlie, it's a legitimate concern, but at this point, I really think the most important thing is that people understand how deeply the Obama administration conspired against the incoming president. The truth needs to be out there. I mean, that's actually an important thing, too. There may never be justice this side of heaven, but people need to know what was done. An attack on America from the highest levels of the Obama administration, up to and including Obama himself, but also his intel chief. Truth is also something important. So rather than even worrying about the actual legal accountability, which I'm worried about too, we are still in the phase of actually discovering how nefarious this plot was. And maybe the fact that we are just discovering that actually helps us with the legal ramifications as well.
Molly Hemingway, God bless you. Thank you so much for your great work. Check out thefederalist.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.